So we're looking at the top 20 most valuable vintage stock certificates that are selling for a ton of money right now. Hey, it's Don. Today we're going to talk about stock certificates. We're going to show you the top 20 most valuable ones selling right now. Now, stock certificates usually show up in quantity for us. I'm able to get tons of them many times. I've had thousands of them. Some of these routinely can sell for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Many of these may be samples, unused ones, canceled ones, folded, creased, shoved in a box at your house right this very second, and they could be holding a ton of money. Even companies you'd never ever assume would carry any kind of value in an old piece of paper, old stock certificate, can still sell for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars as well. So the first thing I should say is that they don't have to be super old to be worth money. Some of the more well-known brands, such as Coca-Cola, even like 80s and 90s versions, can still sell for some good money. Now, with many of these, you will see that they've never been filled out. Some of them may be specimens like this one stating here, or some of them just may have never been used. As you can see, this one sold for $147 for this single stock certificate, unissued. Now, this is a very hot item here. This is an Amazon stock from 1996. This is stated as a specimen. It's actually stamped out. So this was a sample of what the finished product would look like. They may have even sent them around for approval and things like that. This was something that was designed. Banknote companies at one time used to print all of these. So they were made by similar companies that would make stamps and currency in general. So the quality on some of these is incredible. They have to be able to be, I guess, authenticated. So you want to make sure that there's a way to put enough detail in them so they can't be faked very easily. This one sold in the $1,000 range, as you can see here. Now, sometimes a stock is worth something because of the history, the news that surrounds it. And this is Enron Corp. If you don't know what Enron is, you weren't around or you were too young to know the Enron scandal, look up Enron. You'll be surprised, but these stocks go for some good money. Most people probably trashed them when the price went to basically zero on them. So they sell extremely well. There's movies tied to it and the whole works. So this is one of those that's at the top of most of the collectors of this type of material. Food and restaurant chains are another good example. Kentucky Fried Chicken has been portrayed in comedy shows and skits all over the place. So the caricature of Colonel Sanders is extremely well known. Many major comedians of the day have played him and things like that. So this is one of those that does sell extremely well. This one is marked, I do believe, as a specimen, but it doesn't necessarily have to be marked as such. Over $200. Now, one that there are a lot of, but they always seem to sell for some really good money, are Walt Disney Company stock. Just because of the graphics, the sheer design quality, having the stock is something you see framed on the wall in offices all the time. Really, really nice one here. Really nice designed. And this is perforated with the word specimen in it also. So you know without a doubt this one is a specimen. Now, firearms and militaria companies are extremely well sought after, like Winchester or the Savage Arms Corporation one here. Look at the graphics, look at the artwork on this. This is a phenomenal example. This one as well is designed and marked by the American Banknote Company. You will find that same marking on U.S. postage stamps as well as currency from even other countries. So some people may collect this just because of the printer, the manufacturer of the piece itself. Really fine example either way, $192. Now, this one, again, would have a couple different types of collectors. This is one for the United States Playing Card Company. Stock certificate, as you can see, fabulous artwork as well. This is another American Banknote Company version. Now, you might have a collector of playing cards that would want this. the certificate collectors, script collectors, specimen collectors, American banknote collectors. So, I mean, there's a large chunk of people that would want something like this. The more categories of interest that an item like this would have, the higher the value and the easier it would be for it to sell. Now, this one here is probably one of the fanciest, the brightest, the most attractive stocks that I can think of this genre of entertainment-related items. This is for Ringling Brothers, and it went for well over $100. This is a specimen unissued. The issued ones pretty much look identical other than being completely filled out. Now, sports-related stock certificates is a whole nother area in and of itself. This is the Charleston Senators. I guess it would be a minor league team from 1931. Now, what's interesting on some of these, there could be some signatures that went on to be more important than minor league. They might have branched out into the major league in some cases. So sometimes the signatures on these are the main prime reason that they're worth so much money. Now, here's an early one for the New York City Rapid Transit Construction Company. It was one of the companies that was making one of the lines for the New York Central Subway system. Now, this one here is marked canceled. That means it was redeemed, voided. It's not worth anything. You'll also see some that are canceled that have the holes like you see here on the bottom. Still sold for hundreds of dollars. It's canceled as well. Now, here's yet another whole area. This is for Yellowstone Park Transportation Company, a company that provided carriage service and transportation and sightseeing tours in the Yellowstone Park section. So these are extremely well collected. This one happens to be graded also. There are grading companies that will do stock certificates just like any of the other things. PSA, PMG, there are several other companies that will grade these also. Now, as I said earlier, sometimes the signature on the item can make all the difference in the world. Now, these are actually signed to and by Max Baer. Now, if you don't know who Max Baer is, look up the movie Cinderella Man, and that is the story of this person's actual life. These are certificates that he actually bought. There's probably some data that will back this up. Interesting enough, being a boxing legend, his son is Max Baer Jr., who was Jethro Bodine on the Beverly Hillbillies. They would still carry a value just for being Grant Motor Car Corp also, but nowhere near as much as the signature itself adds to the value of these two stock certificates here. Now, I've also talked about the value of World's Fair items. This is from the Louisiana Purchase Exposition Company. This is one of the companies that helped build, finance, and basically run the Louisiana Purchase Exposition. It's the St. Louis World's Fair. They're just a secondary name, just like the Columbian Exposition was the Chicago World's Fair, and so on and so on. So anyway, it's a very nice example. Just because of the artwork, the graphics, and what it's tied to, it's going to carry a value no matter what. This one sold for almost $300. Now, here's a really nice graphical one right here from 1898, the Alaska Gold Syndicate. Now, anything tied to gold in Alaska is usually worth some good money. Obviously, if this was older from the 1850s, the price would go up dramatically. The older these types of things are, the more expensive, the more valuable they will be. Probably another American banknote company printed version also. Now, here again is another area, a whole nother genre of collectors for stock certificates. This is from the Elgin National Watch Company. Any of these sorts of things, as long as they're authentic, will carry a decent value. This one's canceled as well, which doesn't really matter for the collectability of the certificate itself. Now, here's another sports tie-in here. This is the Philadelphia Athletics Baseball Club, and this is an early stock certificate from 1889. It's a nice example. It does have a baseball bat, a baseball, and probably home plate, I would guess, in the center of it. Nicely detailed, nicely printed, a real fine example. Looking at the price, though, it doesn't always mean that it's going to be worth a fortune tying it to an early baseball. Age isn't always the factor also. Rarity is a big factor in some of these. If it's from a major city, there may have been tons of them issued or sold, or from a major business, so there may be a large number still left. The ones that there's only few or they never issued many will carry usually a higher value than something like this. And yet another area of stock certificates that can be highly collectible. Now, anything tied to beer and brewing usually carries a value if it's early enough, if it's unique enough. So most items tied to beer companies in general, like this Ruff's Brewing Company here from 1882, will carry a value into the hundreds of dollars. Beer labels will be another example. Old beer bottles, even the crown caps and things like that can carry a decent value. Beer cans in themselves, so anything tied to this, even a stock certificate, will still carry a value. This, chances are, was bought by someone who actually collects brewing company items specifically, or even maybe is a local historian from the Quincy, Illinois area. Now, mining items in general are highly collected, and this is another great example here. This is the Mark Twain Mining Company. Now, I do not know if this is tied to Mark Twain in general, author or anything else like that. The graphics are spectacular. Copyright rules and laws back in the time frame may not have been as strong as they are now, so you will see people using other people's names and images to market their product without permission. So a Mark Twain collector may want this. A mining collector, coal collectors, if they're mining for coal, or if it's gold or something, or copper mine, I think this one would probably be more along the lines. They all have different types of collectors, so there might be 5 or 6 groups of people who would collect and buy something like this. Now, this one's not necessarily transportation specifically, but it's tied to transportation in general, and this is for a toll road. Somebody built and maintained a road and then charged, just like modern day tolls, for it. This is a stock certificate issued for probably the construction of the road, or as well investment to improve it, to obviously gain interest and make a little money for those investing in it. Local historians and things like that would be well interested in something like this. It's sold for well over $100 as well. Now, here's a really interesting example that's historical. It has autographs on it. It goes back to the founding of a hugely collected company, the American Express Company. This one's tied to Wells Fargo. It has some incredibly good signatures on it, as you can see right down on the bottom here. This one's from 1864. It sold for over $300. It has Henry Wells and William Fargo, their autograph, on the bottom of this. And one last example here to show you the difference in visual appearance. This one can easily be missed because it doesn't look like a modern-day stock certificate, but that is indeed what this is. Signatures, the company's legit. It has a embossed seal in there as well, so it was duly asserted. It's shares that were paid for from 1826, and it sold for almost $200. It's just a little tiny piece of paper compared to what you see modern-day stock certificates. Doesn't matter the size, the shape, or any of that aspect to it. It just matters that it's an authentic, original stock certificate. This one is for a turnpike road as well, so it ties in with the toll road. All of that sort of thing are hugely collected because many of these roads turned into something else. So it's solid history, and probably one of the few things that are still around from the companies that built the vast interstate highways and turnpikes of the U.S. But anyway, that's what I have for you today. Well, there we have it. Hopefully that gave you some ideas, some thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends.
Morning, Granny.
Morning, Jed.
Some party, weren't it? When I shoved myself away from the table, I figured I'd never want to eat again, but now...
Well, sit yourself down, and I'll fix you up with some Kellogg's cornflakes and things.
Doggy. You know, Granny, I think you're beginning to like Beverly Hills.
It's got some good things, but I miss the feel of winter coming on. I'd like to see some trees with their leaves all red and gold like they're supposed to be. I'd like to see that little deer of Ellie's. Used to come around every morning. Wouldn't you like that, Jed?
Sure would, Granny. I'd also like some Kellogg's cornflakes.
Kellogg's best to you.